Welcome to a soccer down here. Odd person rush, odd man rush. It's 2v1 this time. Traditionally, we have them in a 1v1 format, but since there's two of them and there's one of me, it's a 2v1. So it's a 2v1 situation. I am back to defend against Jaida Nyby and Abby Wolf, who are currently, as we are discussing things, they're at the University of the Pacific hanging out. And if those names sound familiar to those of you on the eastern side of the Mississippi, it's because they were part of South Georgia Tormenta's winning side in USL-W. Ladies, thanks for hanging out with us for a 2v1.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.
Second, all second team for the year in USL-W. And all right, so let me do it this way. I have a number in my head, and this is to determine who gets the first the option of answering first or answering second. I have a number in my head between 1 and 20. And since Abby, your first name is alphabetically first, I will give you the first choice. Number between 1 and 20, what's the number?
5.
Jaida?
10.
Jaida, you are closer. You have the option of either answering first or deferring. Which do you choose?
I'll go first.
All right. So what was the process like about going to South Georgia Tormenta? How did this happen? Did you know much about soccer in Statesboro, Georgia? What was the background? For those that don't know your story, what's your story that got you to Tormenta?
So basically, I didn't really know that they were starting a USL Women's League. I didn't really know much about the USL to begin with, but my boyfriend actually signed. He goes to school with us, and he signed to play with Tormenta. I ended up reposting it on Instagram, and then our coach at Pacific called me and was like, "Hey, do you want to go play for like the women's side at the same club?" And I was like, "Oh, that sounds so cool." And so the four of us got in touch with Jim at Tormenta and decided to go. But no, I'd never been to Statesboro. I'd never even been to the East Coast or the South before. But it's kind of funny how it all happened. We didn't really know about it. And then it just worked out perfectly that they needed all four of our positions. So.
All right, Abby, what's your version of storytelling here and how you ended up there as a part of this group that migrated to Statesboro, Georgia? What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, so it's pretty similar to Jada's. After we found out about it, because Jim reached out to our head coach and she was like, "Do any of you guys want to go?" And we were kind of like, "Oh, like I'd be interested." So we let her know, and she got in contact with Jim, and then Jim gave us a call, and after one conversation with him, I was like, okay, I want to go to Georgia basically. So it all happened very quickly. But like Jaida said, we had no idea what to expect, what it was going to be like. We'd never been to Georgia. And then Statesboro, we didn't really know anything about that town or city and how they were involved with soccer and everything.
All right, so we'll do this snake draft style. Since Abby answered the first question second, she answers the second question first. We'll do it that way. So what was the biggest adjustment for you, Abby, into Statesboro? It's the fish out of water story. I think it's safe to say that that's what this was. What was it like for you to go to Statesboro and then experience everything that it has become in USL League One and there in that footprint in Eastern Georgia? What was it like as you transitioned to kind of understand what Tormenta's been building?
So I've grown up in Northern California my whole life. So just going to Georgia and that whole aspect was very different. It's very dry in California. So the humidity, that was a big change when we first got there. And just when you drive, you drive 5 minutes to the next city, and in Georgia, or we were in Statesboro, so you would have to drive 40 minutes before you were in the next city. So that was kind of a big change and a little different, but I liked it because it was very green out there. But then soccer wise, I feel that was not as big of a change because very similar level to what we play and everything, and it was very competitive, and they wanted to win a championship. So for the soccer aspect, I don't think that was as difficult to adapt to as the environment was with the weather and everything.
All right, Jaida, what about what Tormenta has been building in your exposure, and as you're getting to see things grow and build, and you and Abby get to be a part of this whole thing? What was that whole process like for you?
I mean, it was any club's like first year having a women's team. And I thought it was really cool. And I really liked how we came in, and they were like, our expectation is that you guys win a championship, because no one from Tormenta had won like the league yet. And so I thought it was cool that even as a women's team, with the professional men's team and the USL-2 team, like they had the same expectations from us to go win. I really liked how much they like emphasize that whether you're on the first team and you're actually a professional, like it's a professional environment, and they treated everyone accordingly. And we were only there for a couple months, but just in that short time, it was really evident how close everyone was between all three teams. It was a really big family environment, but also a really professional environment. So it was cool to kind of see that transition over, especially as we got into playoffs and into the national championship and stuff, how supportive everyone was.
So then, Jaida, let me ask you this. How long did it take for you guys as a team to get to full song? Because you're all being basically thrown into this one big pot. And it's like, okay, everybody, and you're all jumping into the pool at the same time. How long did it take you guys to kind of get to full rhythm, or was it something that was still developing as you guys were getting into the playoff run?
I think we were getting better and building more chemistry as a team, like each game. I don't think it ever really stopped, but something that was really special about our team specifically is I feel like it didn't take much time at all, maybe a couple weeks to just get our feet underneath us, but it didn't take much time for everyone to kind of learn how we're going to play and who works well with who. And our chemistry, I feel like from the very beginning was really strong. And I feel like that's what helped us against a lot of the teams that we played, is that we played as a team. I mean, everyone kept saying like, you guys play like you've known each other for years, and we'd really only known each other for like tops like 6 to 8 weeks. So but yeah, each game it kept getting better. I think the national championship was kind of our peak, but
all right, so since Jaida has volunteered the national championship, Abby, let's get into that a little bit. Jaida Nyby, Abby Wolf hanging out with us here for a Soccer Down Here 2v1 as they visit from the University of the Pacific after the season is over in USL-W, where we can safely say that both of these two are national champs with their time at South Georgia Tormenta. Let's get to the national championship in the week. What was it like leaving Statesboro, going to Minneapolis, and being in that environment where you're looking at 6,200, 6,500 folks, and you could probably move the decimal point over at least one space, if not two, knowing that there was Tormenta support there, but it was a hostile crowd that wanted Minnesota Aurora to win?
Yeah, so it was a lot of people. When they said like 65,000 people, I was like, okay, like I know it's a lot of people, but we play BYU in our conference and they normally have a couple thousand fans. So I was like, okay, like it's going to be like similar to that. But when we got there, just like seeing the stadium and like filled like both sides, it was just insane. Like it was nothing like I'd ever experienced before. And like I would be like, when the game started, like I would try to like yell to someone on the field, and like they could not hear me at all. Like I was on the sideline next to our coaches, and they were like trying to talk to me, and I just like couldn't hear anything. Like it was crazy.
So obviously, Jaida, you get the early lead. Run through that first goal for me and what was going through your mind, and process that play for me from beginning to goal.
So we got the free kick, and it was about, I think it was like around the half, maybe a little bit behind, but we were all kind of lining up, and our attacking mid, she like turned and like told me like run behind, like I'm gonna flick this to you. And I was like, all right, like, so I did it, and it came just like right to her head, and the play happened exactly how she drew it up, but it just fell like perfectly as I was running through, like at my foot. I didn't have to take a touch, like it had just enough bounce on it to like get me to like slip it, or allow me to slip it past their keeper. But it's hard to like play it back in my head because it happened so quick, and it was like so much to process in such a like surreal environment that I can't remember detail for detail. But I do remember Erin O'Hearn, she like told me exactly how it was going to go beforehand, and then it was crazy that like, I don't know, we executed it. It was really cool.
So Abigail, they tied at 1. And those of us who are watching outside Minneapolis, St. Paul, know that there was going to be an extra 30 going on. Well, what's processing through your mind as you're getting ready for that next 30 minutes and possibly what could be happening down the line? What happened after that first 90?
I was ready to go. I was a little nervous because I was like, 30 more minutes is a long time. Like, we're going to play the full 30 minutes. And honestly, in my head, I was thinking like, we're going to go to PKs. Like, it had been like, we had both had some chances, but I feel like we hadn't had like too many. So I was like, okay, we're going to PKs. And then we like played the first half of the extra time, and then the second half, and then they got the PK, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we can't lose right now. And Sydney, our keeper, saved it, and I was like, okay, like we're gonna win this now. Like after she made that save, I was like, there's no way we don't win this now. And then like a couple minutes later, like it's like there's like 5 minutes left. We have a corner, like we're basically like our whole team is up, and then we score again, and I was like, we just like we won. Like even though we still had a couple more minutes to go, I was so excited after that.
All right, so Jaida, the second one goes in. What's that 5 minutes like, having to defend for your lives when you know you're that close to a championship?
Well, actually, I think it was a couple minutes. Well, there was only like 5 minutes left, but shortly after we scored the last goal, our coach actually took me out. And so I was just like waiting on the sideline, like the last 2 minutes, like you're just so anxious because like, like this is like your team's like game that you deserve to win. But Minnesota was really good. And so we didn't give them, our defense did a really good job at denying them any real like clean opportunities. They did a fantastic job, but it was hard having to like sit there and just like watch it and like wait for that felt like the longest 2 minutes of my life, waiting for the game to be over at that point.
Final whistle blows. Abby, what was your first reaction?
I just sprinted to like the big group in front of me, like everyone just ran. So like I went over there, I sprinted, and then I like turned around and ran to Sydney and gave her a hug from CK.
Jaida, whistle goes, and you're storming into the dog pile, I imagine, at this point, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, all of us from the bench, we just ran onto the field to like meet the rest of the team, and we were all like, I gave Sydney a big hug. I was giving everyone around me a big hug. I was like, it was such like collective team effort. Everyone worked so hard for so long. It's hard to play that number of minutes, especially with that many fans, and on that type of stage. Like, it's exhausting, and everyone really gave everything they had. So it was just trying to make your rounds, like hugging, congratulating everybody. But yeah.
Where's your medal, Jaida?
It's actually hanging up in my room right next to my closet door.
So when people come into your dorm room there at UOP, is that the first thing that you sit there and it's like, hi, Do the Price is Right thing where you kind of sit there and go, "Hi, welcome to my room." Is it is it an instant conversation piece, or do you let it lay in the background and then sit there and go, "Oh, by the way, this is how I spent my summer"?
It's funny because I just moved into a new house. So the past like 2 weeks of being here, I've been just trying to get moved into my room, getting our house set up. And so we've had a lot of my friends have been coming and going, like showing them what the house looks like and stuff. And every time someone comes into my room, they point out the medal and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. That's sick." It's not the first thing you see when you come in, but if you spend enough time in my room, you'll find it.
All right. So Abby, where's yours?
Mine is actually at my house with my parents because I live in a dorm room, and so I was trying to pack light. Like I didn't want to bring a bunch of stuff. So mine's sitting at home with my parents.
Let's go to the plane ride where, if I'm not mistaken, the trophy got its own seat, because you have to have it in its own seat, and it has to be secured for the travel home. And from what I understand, Aaron Cranford basically would not let it go. From what I understand, he pretty much was hugging it the whole time. Well, what was you land in Savannah finally, and you see folks there in the concourse wherever you can. What was it like to see that reception? Abby, let me start with you first. What was it like to see that reception when you turn the corner and see all those Tormenta fans there to welcome you back?
So actually I did not fly back to Statesboro.
Okay.
I left Minneapolis and flew straight home.
Okay.
So I did not get to experience that, but Jaida did.
So Jaida, what was it like turning that corner?
It was, well, we were exhausted just from traveling, and we were up super late the night before, but it was so like, that was like the last, I guess, reward is getting home and being able to like hug our club owners and people who worked so hard for us all season. Being able to like give them a hug and celebrate with them felt really good, because everyone on the Tormenta staff, like whether it was Miss Jolene and Tyler like making our food, or Brian and everyone else in the front office, Colt like doing our media, like doing our equipment, everyone worked so hard for us and supported us the whole season. So it was so nice to be able to like celebrate with them and also congratulate them, because we wouldn't have won a championship without how much they poured into our team this year too. So
Abby, how does it feel to be a first ever something? And I know that you got accolades, with USL-W, team of the year on the second team squad and all that. But what's it like to be the part of first ever something when it comes to a championship in a league?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine it, honestly. Like, it's so crazy. Like, they obviously didn't have this like a couple years ago, and so like knowing that like I had the opportunity to be like one of the first people to play in this, and that a bunch of like other kids like will be able to play in this like in the following years is really cool. And I'm honestly just looking forward to having like a reunion back in Statesboro with everyone like a couple years from now, and just like we're all back together, like, and just like thinking like we were the first team, like just like we were the first Tormenta team, like we were the first Tormenta team to win, and just like the first USL women's team to win. It's just unbelievable, honestly.
What other mementos, Jaida, did you get to keep with you other than the medal? Did you get to keep your uni? Did you put a jersey in a frame? Did everybody sign one? What else did you get to keep to take with you to UOP?
I didn't take anything else except for the medal. We did get shirts that say national champs on them, so I do wear those around sometimes. But yeah, other than my medal and my shirt, that's all I have.
What about you, Abby?
That's all I have too.
When it comes to the friendships that you guys got to make, basically it was a shared mission and you're all chasing after and racing after something. When it comes to the friendships that you'll take with you I mean, is everybody now on your speed dial? Do you guys have regular conversations, or is it pretty much back to, yeah, I'm here at UOP. I've got to get my work done. What's it like, Abby, now with this new group of friends that you got to have a shared mission with?
Yeah, so we definitely still all talk, and obviously right now most of us are starting our season. So I think we're all kind of looking forward to following everybody at their colleges and watching to see how like they do together. And I know that, or so obviously our school's in California, so we don't play a lot or any of the girls because most of them go to schools like in Georgia, like over there in that area. And so they get to play each other. And so I kind of wish that like we got to play some of them because I think that would be fun. But yeah, we definitely still talk and are supporting each other and following each other with like our college seasons.
All right, Jaida. So when it comes to, let me ask you about your teammates here for a second.
Okay.
Who was the class clown? Who was the one that was always trying to keep the room light? And you and Abby are both already laughing about that one. And who was the one that you could tell them, you could try to tell them a joke, but they were the most unflappable. They were the most locked in the whole time. Who was the class clown, and who was the one who I guess was just locked into the task? Who was locked in and focused? Who were those extremes?
I would say the class clown would probably have to be Alicia. I just thought it was hilarious. Everyone thought she was so funny. I don't really know who the other one would be.
But I think that's a good thing though, because then it means that everyone is still locked into it. You're attentive to each other and you're locked into each other that whole time though. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were really good at like when it's time to have fun and joke around and whatnot, like there's time for that. And then once we stepped onto the field, like we knew when to, turn that on and turn that off, and when it was, time to mean business and stuff.
All right. A couple of questions before we go. Real rapid fire stuff. Abby, do you think of yourself as a role model when it comes to soccer and seeing the younger players that were there, probably the U12s, U14s, that kind of stuff, who would come and watch you in Statesboro and you and the team play and succeed? Do you think of yourself as a role model in any way?
Yes and no. I don't necessarily like to be in that position. Like I don't really want people like looking at me, but yeah, I do, because there were definitely like some younger kids that would come to our games, and just it was cool to see like them watching us and just like thinking like, oh, like I want to be them one day. So I think, yeah, they definitely, I feel kind of like a role model to them.
Right. Jaida, what do you think now that you've been able to rub off on younger folks here in Eastern Georgia and in the Tormenta universe? What do you think about that idea of being a role model or someone that folks look up to now because you've won a title?
Well, I take that like really like to heart, because that used to be me. Like when I was younger and I would watch like girls in college play or girls my age play soccer, I was like, I want to be them. Like they're so cool, like they're so old, like they're so good. And like that was like from a young age, like that, like I knew I wanted to like be great and like play college soccer. And like even though I don't feel like I don't feel like you can ever really fully achieve greatness, but like knowing that other like little girls can look up to me and like think like, oh, I can get there one day, like that can be me, like that means the world to me, because I have little siblings, so I love kids.
Abby Wolf and Jaida Nyby now hanging out at the University of Pacific, fresh off a national championship for South Georgia Tormenta in the USL-W League. Ladies, thanks for hanging out with us for a 2v1 and kind of looking back at the national championship, winning the medal, and getting on to the next stage of things. I know that the folks in Statesboro and everyone that's attached to Tormenta really loves and will continue to love you guys for forever and ever as the first evers when it comes to champions with South Georgia Tormenta. Thanks for hanging out with us here at SDH. We'll be keeping an eye on things out at UOP. Be safe.
Thank you.